Obviously, COVID-19 has arrived in North Bay. It was inevitable. Have you had discussions with, first of all, Jim Chirico, and what is your message from him to the public, or your message personally about the fact that it's here? And there's also, of course, the story from the post office today as well. But again, we can't be surprised that COVID's in North Bay.
No, I think what we're seeing right across the globe, we knew it was coming. We're trying to message, social distancing, good hygiene, stay home if you can. But our residents shouldn't be surprised it's here. It's going to go right across the country. We're seeing what it's doing in the States now. It's inevitable, but I'll be honest, we're prepared. Your answer, have I spoken with Jim Chirico? As a matter of fact, I just met with him for about an hour this morning. We had an emergency control group put together. So we went through all the different scenarios. The hospital was present, Paul Heinrich, Jim Chirico, myself, Dave Euler, the police chief and the fire chief. We're just doing the minutes of the meeting. We're going to get all the information out to the public, but I can say we're prepared. The message really is still the same, and it's very clear. We want everyone to follow medical professionals' advice, good hygiene, social distance, or they're changing it now to like physical distance. Stay home if you can. If you're sick, stay home. Do everything you can. If we can flatten this curve, we're going to save lives. So really, it's really in the community's hands. If they follow those directions, they will save citizens' lives.
I want to ask you about the fact that obviously the federal government has offered stimulus money, the province has made cutbacks and try to help, financially those that are suffering, and that's a lot of people. The city has deferred some tax payments, but the city needs revenues. All governments need revenue to operate. How are you going to operate with this shortfall?
That's not lost on us, Greg, and that's a very good question. So our payroll is around $5 million a month, and we did defer penalties and interest. We're encouraging everyone that can pay to pay for sure, but if you're struggling, absolutely reach out to our staff. We're watching it very closely. The city is in very strong financial, is in a very strong position financially. So, we have lots of time, and this is just really a deferral of taxes because at the end of the day, they still have to be paid, but we're going to give people time. But we're watching it very closely. But I just want to reassure our citizens that we're in good financial shape. That's why we have solid reserves to keep us going in times like that we're facing today.
In the private sector, there have been plenty of layoffs, plenty of shutdowns, plenty of cutbacks. Do you foresee a situation or scenario maybe in the near future where city employees, many of them working from home, but many of them may have to deal with a temporary layoff? Is that a possibility?
So I will say this. We have laid off 50 casual workers to date. Those are usually the individuals that work in the arenas and that sort of thing because they are closed. We are delaying and maybe canceling the summer students as well. But I can say that in our meeting with Dr. Chirico, his recommendation, and we believe in it as well. Our position will be there'll be no state staff layoffs.
And how long do you think you can keep? Is there a time frame where you might have to burst that bubble, so to speak, if this drags on into the summer?
Oh, let's face it, it can't go on forever. And, that's really just our position today. So, if this is 4, 5, 6 months from now, obviously you always have to look, but at present, we're planning no layoffs. The recommendation is actually sound. So if you think of it, if this COVID virus really continues on for months ahead, there's no question some of our staff members are going to get it as well, just like the general public. And we need every staff member to be able to be redeployed in different areas.
So what you're saying, Mr. Mayor, is there's enough work to go around to keep everybody employed at City Hall?
Yes, right now. So what we're doing is redeploying people as we speak. We do have a rotation because we want to keep social distancing. So we only have one person per truck. There's our public works people are out there. There's on a rotation basis. There's lots of work. There's work that we're doing that maybe just we were just too busy to get to. We can get to it now. So we're doing everything we can to keep everybody busy. But at the same token, we want to make sure that everybody's safe.
The final question will be this. Obviously, there was a lot of media play about the Keith Robichaud situation, and I know it's a personnel issue, but it's still a taxpayer issue. What's your message to taxpayers? Do you feel that maybe you could have handled it better or differently?
Well, at any time, as you know, Greg, we can't speak about individuals or identifiable individuals. We do have to follow legislation. So anyone that makes over $100,000, we have to put them on this what everybody kind of knows is the sunshine list. But we under legislation is the privacy protection or freedom of information privacy protection. We can't disclose any private information.
But one follow-up will be this. I mean, the fact is, and this has happened more than once, that the city has paid CAOs who weren't working at City Hall. Do you feel that maybe this could have been handled better by you or council?
Well, as I said, I can't speak about any identifiable individual. We have to follow all the laws that are in place, and the freedom of information, everybody talks about FOI. The other piece of that legislation is privacy protection, so we can't go into any details. But we do post what we pay everyone on the sunshine list, and that's exactly what the city has done.
But you don't feel that this was, I don't want to say a waste of money, but not the best way to use tax dollars?
Well, as I said, Greg, I can't talk about an identifiable individual, and that's what you're asking me to do.
Okay. Finally, my final question would be this. Do you have a personal message to the city of North Bay? Like, are you going to be traveling around the city? I mean, I know you can't meet with a lot of people, but you have to, obviously, people look to the political leaders for inspiration, I guess is what I'm trying to say. What's your thought about that?
They do. I believe they want to know that their leaders are working on their behalf at all times, but especially when there's crisis like today, and it's a pandemic. What I can say is, no, I'm not going around talking to people because that's not what the
well,
medical.
in a virtual sense, I guess, Al, maybe not in a face-to-face sense.
Yeah, so I absolutely reaching out to individuals. To be honest, I'm in a lot of meetings and briefings and on calls, but I have talked to business leaders. I've talked to union leaders. I was just talking to the post office because we were going to talk about the post office a little bit. I did talk to them just before I came on this interview. We're doing everything we can. If maybe just to give people a sense of what's happening is we're on the 5th floor, and because of social distancing, we only have about 5 people here, and it's a core group that we're trying to make all the decisions. Council has been phenomenal. So is our citizens. Everyone is working in the best interest of our community. And if there was a message, Greg, that I'd like to get it to the community is it's really in your hands. If we're going to get through this, we really need everybody to stay at home, practice social distancing, good hygiene. If you're sick, don't go to work. Do what you can, because really it's going to be the community that decides